What's going on, everybody? I have a confession to make. Since the last video, I've done something, and I'm gonna show you. Psych, you probably were thinking that I got rid of the Miata. Yes, Miata. I'm learning, bear with me. Anyways, you're probably thinking that I got rid of the Miata, because on the last video I was talking about what would be a better daily, comparing this car to my son's BRZ. And the truth of the matter is, I can't bear to let this thing go. You know what? I've received many comments since that video and a lot of people pointing out the differences, and there's a lot of die-hard Miata owners out there, as well as some really valid BRZ GR86 points. But you know what? For me, it boils down to the driving experience. And personally, after I had this car out on a track day with Jason, he did a track review on this, and just getting the car out there again and getting his impressions from a completely non-biased source really kind of solidified my decision to keep this car, because it wasn't a matter of wanting to get rid of this car because I had a desire for something else, but rather a need. I need a one car does all, just because things have changed in my life a little bit for the better, not bad. However, it just seemed a little more practical, a little more economical to have one car that does all things well. I just can't. I can't get rid of it. So anyways, what did I do? Well, I put the BBS wheels back on. Woo! So anyway, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that a little while ago I talked about how I damaged one of the wheels, if not both of the wheels, because of the really awesome roads here in Hamilton, Ontario. Nevertheless, got it repaired. I want to thank Tire House, or House in Upper Stony Creek, for looking after this for me. They did a phenomenal job. Honestly, I was convinced I was going to have to get a new wheel because these are forged, and it was pretty significant. But man, I'm impressed. Luckily, only one wheel really had some damage. The other was perfect. So they were able to repair the bend in the wheel, balanced it out, and man, this thing is amazing. I have to admit, guys, you know what? The Koenigs were all right. I didn't mind them, but I didn't love them. And it was a kind of a compromise because the wheel got damaged and I needed to do something quick. So the Koenigs fit the bill for the time. However, seeing the OE BBSs back on this car, I'm in love. I just love the way the vehicle looks. Desperately needs to be lowered, and we're gonna get into that. I wanna just discuss my impressions and thoughts since the last video, which, believe it or not, even though I only published it on YouTube about a week ago, I actually recorded that like a month and a half ago. In light of my new mindset with this car, I kind of really want to go over some of my impressions, thoughts, and where my mind's at, and discuss what the ownership's been like of the car. Let's hop on in and go for a ride. What more fitting than doing this video at 10,000 kilometers? That's right, the odometer just rolled over 10,000 kilometers, and oh, you know what? This car is not gonna break your neck with its speed, and it's certainly not the most impressive thing that I've ever driven. However, you have to respect it for what it is. It is really difficult to beat this value when you look at what you're getting as far as a full package. The car is hard to beat. You've got a vehicle that contains a lightweight philosophy. Mazda has employed the Grams theory with this, and in doing so, they've made a modern day roadster very light. And that is something that is not achievable by most other manufacturers. Even the GR86 and the BRZ comes in at about 2,800 to 2,900 pounds, whereas in this vehicle sitting here in the RF trim is sitting at around 2,450 pounds. The soft top version goes down to about 2,380 pounds, give or take. So when we look at that as a whole, with a modern vehicle with modern tech, I've got Apple CarPlay, I've got heated seats, this is a convertible, and I've got modern safety amenities in this car.
it's really difficult to see past what the engineers have done here. Now, all of that aside, we've got here the absolute best formula when it comes to making a true roadster. You've got a front mid-engine layout, rear-wheel drive, 6-speed manual transmission, limited slip differential, independent suspension in all 4 corners, utilizing double A-arms in the front, multi-link in the back. What more could you ask for? This vehicle was really designed with purpose, and that is what I love about it. And yes, the GR86 and the BRZ would be a far more practical car. I'm not arguing that. As far as a daily driver is concerned, it's really difficult to see past the convenience and the practicality of those vehicles. But they are not as special. No, and I hate to say it, and I know that the GR86 and the BRZ community is probably going to hate me for this, but it is true. Miata is always the answer. This is a better car in every conceivable form. This is not a parts bin special. This car was made bespoke from ground up and has been in production for 34 years. Yes, the 86 and the twins have been around going on 10, 11 years now, but still, you can't really compare the heritage and the pedigree that is inherent in this car. This car is a passion project from Mazda. This really is something that they put their heart and soul into. The engineers had a philosophy, horse and rider as one. Jimbe Atai. I'm probably butchering that. But essentially, the car envelops you, okay? You become one with the car, and that is so true when you drive it. All of the reasons I fell in love with this car and I purchased it to begin with are still the same reasons why I love it today, and why I just can't come to terms with getting rid of this car. I can't. It's just too great in so many different ways. And I'd love to sit here and say that, you know what, there's this flaw and that flaw, and because of these flaws, I really don't enjoy it. And yes, it's not practical, and it does lack an interior space, and if you're a regular sized adult that's 5'9" and above, you're going to struggle to fit in here comfortably. There's really nowhere to put anything. I mean, I don't even have a place to really put my sunglasses, which is why I'm not wearing them. But all of that aside, I still give that all up for how this rewards me as a driver's car. It's really something special. And honestly, something that can't be said about a lot of other cars today. And I'm not trying to knock the 86, and I'm certainly not trying to knock the BRZ. I'm really not. I really think those cars are great. And given their price point, they've done a phenomenal job. They really have. And sure, maybe in stock form, not only is it more practical, but it's probably a little bit quicker around the racetrack, depending on who's behind the wheels. But to be fair, this car is pretty competent out of the box. We should not discredit its ability. If we're being completely honest with ourselves, most of these cars are tuner cars. And because of that, we're going to modify them anyway. So a like for like, stock for stock comparison is not really the most honest approach if we're being completely fair. We need to look at this from a completely different and maybe a little bit more of an objective set of lens. The car provides you all the feedback that you want. I don't find the steering to be numb or dull at all. Is it as sharp and as crisp as the BRZ? No. However, the suspension, way better. The way this articulates and the motion that this vehicle has, its inherent 50-50 balance is something that I can't say that the BRZ possesses. Sure, you have a little bit of a lower center of gravity, and that's their claim to fame. However, the Miata, it offers you and rewards you with its balance. Yep, in stock form, it's a bit roly-poly. I'm not going to deny that. But there's a solution to that. And I have the solution. And I'm going to employ that solution, trust me. If we're going to judge the vehicle on its naturally rolling behavior, it's not really fair. Because if we're honest, again, in the spirit of modifying, not many people keep these things stock. The engine, I mean, what more could you ask for? We have an inline 2-liter producing 181 horsepower, and yeah, it's not as powerful as the BRZ or the GR86. However, it's more reliable, and it's been proven to be more reliable. More of these vehicles are tracked every weekend around the world than the twins. And you don't really hear too many people with Miatas blowing up their engines. As a matter of fact, on the Facebook groups, there's quite a few track guys that are extensively modified and even supercharged with thousands and thousands of track miles. And it seems like the only weak point in this vehicle is the transmissions. More so in the first generation ND1. The ND2 doesn't seem to be as plagued with those issues. I don't want to say that it's completely safe, but at the same time, there seems to be more successful ND2 owners than there are ND1 with respect to the transmission. Differentials, not really an issue. You don't hear too many people complaining about those. Again, when it comes down to the reliability, the engineers designed this engine to be able to maintain oil pressure at 1.4 G, which, with everything going on with the twins as of late, that's something that they can't say that they can do. Now, I know there are solutions, and I know that there are people looking for all sorts of ingenious ways to kind of band-aid that problem. But even at that, it's still a known problem, and it's not necessarily something that is guaranteed not to happen. Another point I want to add is that this vehicle's used in a production series. That's right, the MX-5 Global Cup. And in that series, the engines are untouched. They essentially remove the engines out of bone stock vehicles, leave them absolutely alone, and then build a race car and put those engines back in. And these things are revved out to the moon for 45 minutes at a time for several races on a race weekend. And many of them continue to use them throughout the entire season without having to be rebuilt or replaced. Again, that's pretty remarkable that they're essentially untouched. Now, a lot of that has to do with its design. The oiling is not an issue on this engine. As a matter of fact, the oil pump resides within the sump of the oil pan. A little bit different. The pickup is actually a part of the oil pump, and again, it all resides within the pan, so you don't really have an issue with cativating oil. The other thing you have is sufficient oiling in the top end as well. And the engine is built stout. As a matter of fact, it's got a mid-girdle, and for those of you that don't know, basically the engine block is two pieces. The main caps are all housed within what we call a girdle assembly. The bottom end is stout. You're not going to have these cranks walk on you. You really can't ask for a more bulletproof and resilient design. There's a ton of aluminum on this vehicle, which also adds to its lightness. The double A-arm wishbones are aluminum, the front suspension knuckles are aluminum, the rear hubs are aluminum, and as a matter of fact, the rear hubs already come with spherical bearings in them from the factory. You don't have to add that. The panels are aluminum, the roof panel is aluminum, the front fenders are aluminum, the hood is aluminum, the trunk lid is aluminum. Again, there was no cost spared to engineer and to develop this car. And for a production vehicle that's not a supercar or of supercar status, that's pretty impressive, especially for a small to mid-size auto manufacturer. So again, it's very evident in this vehicle the amount of passion that has gone into manufacturing this car. With all of that said, I just can't give it up. Technical stuff aside, all of the other stuff that makes sense on paper as for why you shouldn't get rid of this car or why this car is better than some of the competitors means absolutely nothing. When I get behind the wheel of this car, I am rewarded time and time again. And for that reason and that reason alone, that's why I'm going to keep it. And it's not going anywhere. I've owned a lot of cars, especially ones on this channel. And I can honestly say, of all those cars, this is easily, hands down, my favorite. And the one that I always gravitate to whenever I want to just go for a drive. But this one, it's the one. It's the one that I enjoy. It's the one that I'll probably keep for a long period of time. And part of the reason why I was looking to get rid of it was because I ultimately may move. I may move out of the country. I'll bring it with me. I'm at that point. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've been enjoying the content. I really, really appreciate all the new subscribers that I've gotten. You know, the Miata family is a massive family, and I love your support. Thank you so much. I do plan on creating more content down the road. There are going to be some things that are going to be coming up for this vehicle. I don't want to disclose all of that now, but I will in future videos. And, you know, as always, a like and subscribe means a lot. Please comment, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.